Martha, a 78-year-old woman living alone, struggled to afford her essential medications. One fateful afternoon at the pharmacy, her heart sank as she realized she couldn't pay for her prescriptions. Just as hope seemed to slip away, a kind stranger named Ethan stepped in, purchasing her medicine without hesitation. This simple act of kindness was the beginning of an unexpected bond that would change both their lives forever. Curious to see how this heartwarming story unfolds? Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any part of this inspiring journey of kindness and transformation. Join us as we reveal the true power of compassion. Martha, a 78-year-old woman, lived alone in a modest apartment on the outskirts of the city. Her days were marked by a silent and lonely routine, accompanied only by the sound of an old radio that tuned into news and music from her youth. Her pension barely covered basic expenses, and each month it became more difficult to balance the bills. Her fragile health required expensive medications, essential to control high blood pressure and diabetes. That afternoon, as she walked slowly to the neighborhood pharmacy, Martha felt the weight of uncertainty on her shoulders. She counted the coins in her pocket, fearing they would not be enough to cover the medicines she so desperately needed. Upon reaching the counter, her trembling hands handed the prescription to the pharmacist, who looked at her with sympathy but also with a certain resignation. The price was too high for the little Martha could offer. She muttered an apology and began to walk away, sadness etched on her time-worn face. Each step seemed heavier than the last, and hope faded with each passing day. It was then that a firm yet gentle voice sounded behind her, asking her to wait. A tall man, with a simple appearance but a penetrating gaze, approached and, with a decisive gesture, asked the pharmacist to add Martha's medicines to his bill. Martha was stunned, not knowing how to react. Words of gratitude struggled to leave her mouth, but were interrupted by the stranger, who just smiled and said that sometimes life surprises us in unexpected ways. That seemingly simple gesture illuminated Martha's heart, igniting a spark of hope amid the darkness of her daily struggles. She didn't know who this man was, but she felt that his presence would bring more than just medicines. Martha's heart pounded as she watched the stranger, her savior, converse with the pharmacist. She clutched her worn coat tighter around her frail body, feeling a mixture of gratitude and bewilderment. The man, whose name she would later learn was Ethan, completed the transaction and turned to her, his eyes filled with a kindness she hadn't encountered in years. "Here you go, ma'am," he said softly, handing her the bag of medicines. "Please, take care of yourself." Tears welled up in Martha's eyes as she took the bag from him. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You've done more than you can imagine." Ethan smiled gently. "No thanks necessary, really. I just wanted to help." Martha nodded, still trying to process the moment. She felt an overwhelming urge to learn more about this man who had shown her such unexpected kindness. "May I ask, why did you do this?" she asked, her curiosity mingling with her gratitude. Ethan looked thoughtful for a moment. "I believe in helping others when I can," he replied. "Life has a way of bringing us full circle. Sometimes, we just need to pay it forward." As they walked out of the pharmacy together, the cold wind nipping at their faces, Martha felt a sense of warmth and connection she hadn't felt in a long time. Ethan offered to walk her home, and she accepted, feeling a surprising comfort in his presence. During their walk, Martha learned that Ethan was a writer who had recently moved to the neighborhood. He had a calm demeanor and a gentle way of speaking that made her feel at ease. He spoke of his love for storytelling and how he found inspiration in everyday acts of kindness. By the time they reached Martha's apartment, a bond had begun to form between them. She invited him in for a cup of tea, and to her delight, he accepted. As they sat in her small but cozy living room, Martha felt a renewed sense of hope. The simple act of a stranger's kindness had opened a door to a new chapter in her life, one filled with unexpected friendship and the promise of brighter days ahead. As they sat in Martha's modest living room, the warmth of the tea mingling with the coziness of the space, a sense of calm washed over her. The chatter of the outside world faded away, leaving only the soft hum of the kettle and the gentle murmur of conversation. Ethan listened intently as Martha spoke about her late husband, the love of her life who had passed away years ago, leaving her to navigate the world alone. It was difficult after he left, she admitted, her eyes misting over. He was my rock, and without him, everything felt empty. Ethan nodded, understanding in his eyes. I'm sorry for your loss, Martha. It sounds like he meant the world to you. She smiled sadly, nodding. He did. But life goes on, doesn't it? Even when it feels impossible. Ethan took a sip of his tea, pondering her words. Sometimes, we find strength in the most unexpected places, he said softly. Like today. Who would have thought a simple visit to the pharmacy would lead to this moment? Martha chuckled, the sound light and free. Life is full of surprises, isn't it? As the conversation flowed, Martha felt a growing curiosity about Ethan. He seemed so familiar, yet she couldn't place where she might have seen him before. There was an air of mystery about him, something that drew her in and made her want to know more. Tell me, Ethan, she began, hesitating slightly. Why did you move to this neighborhood? It's not often we get new faces around here. Ethan's expression softened. I was looking for a fresh start, he explained. After my parents passed away, I felt lost. I needed a change, a place where I could find my footing again. Martha's heart ached at his words. I understand that feeling all too well, she said quietly. Sometimes, a change of scenery is just what we need to heal. Their shared experiences of loss and longing created a bond that felt both new and ancient, like two souls recognizing each other across the vast expanse of time. As they continued to talk, Martha's initial wariness began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of connection and trust. Little did she know, Ethan held a secret that would soon change everything. As the evening wore on, Martha found herself growing more and more curious about the man who had so unexpectedly entered her life. What had driven him to act so selflessly? And why did she feel such a profound sense of familiarity with him? These questions lingered in her mind, their answers just out of reach. Yet, despite the uncertainty, Martha felt a spark of hope igniting within her, a hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this new friendship could lead to something truly extraordinary. The following days unfolded like a delicate tapestry of newfound friendship. Ethan and Martha began to spend more time together, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. Ethan, with his gentle demeanor and kind heart, became a regular visitor at Martha's home, bringing with him a sense of warmth and companionship that she had longed for since her husband's passing. One afternoon, as they sat in the garden, the sun casting a golden glow over the blooming flowers, Martha found herself opening up about her struggles in a way she hadn't done in years. The fear of losing her home, the mounting medical bills, and the loneliness that seemed to engulf her were all laid bare. Ethan, she began, her voice trembling with emotion, it's been so hard. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning, and there's no way out. Ethan reached out, taking her hand in his. You're not alone, Martha. I'm here, and we'll get through this together. His words, simple yet profound, brought a tear to Martha's eye. She squeezed his hand, finding solace in his presence. Thank you, Ethan. You have no idea how much this means to me. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan's support became a beacon of hope in Martha's life. He helped her organize her finances, find ways to reduce her expenses, and even accompanied her to her doctor's appointments. With his guidance, Martha began to see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, Martha turned to Ethan with a look of gratitude and curiosity. Ethan, why are you doing all this for me? We barely knew each other a few weeks ago, and now you've become such an important part of my life. Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting the fading light of the day. Sometimes, we meet people who change our lives in unexpected ways. When I saw you that day in the pharmacy, something told me that we were meant to cross paths. I can't explain it, but I feel like helping you is what I'm supposed to do. Martha's heart swelled with emotion. You've given me hope, Ethan. More than I ever thought possible. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in shades of twilight, Martha felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Ethan's presence had brought a sense of renewal to her life, and for the first time in a long time, she dared to believe that better days were ahead. But amidst this newfound hope, there remained an air of mystery around Ethan. Martha couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his story, something he wasn't telling her. And as their friendship deepened, she found herself longing to uncover the truth about the man who had so unexpectedly changed her life. Little did she know, the answers she sought were closer than she could ever have imagined, waiting to be revealed in the most surprising and heartwarming way. As their friendship blossomed, Ethan and Martha shared countless conversations that wove a tapestry of mutual understanding and trust. Yet, despite the openness that characterized their relationship, Martha sensed a deep well of unspoken pain within Ethan, a shadow that lurked behind his kind eyes. One rainy afternoon, as they sat in Martha's cozy living room, the patter of raindrops on the window creating a soothing backdrop, Martha decided to gently probe into Ethan's past. They were sipping on hot tea, the warmth of the mug seeping into their hands, when Martha spoke up. Ethan, you've done so much for me, and I'm incredibly grateful. But I've realized I don't know much about you. What brought you to this town? What is your story? Ethan's smile faltered for a moment, his gaze dropping to the floor. He took a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to dive into painful memories. It's a long story, Martha. But I think it's time I share it with you. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes distant as he began to speak. A few years ago, I had a family. A beautiful wife and a daughter named Emily. We lived in a small town not far from here. Life was good, and I thought we had all the time in the world. Martha listened intently, her heart aching for the pain she could hear in his voice. But one winter night, Ethan continued, his voice breaking slightly, a drunk driver ran a red light and crashed into our car. My wife died on impact. Emily was critically injured. She fought for her life for days, but eventually, she too left this world. Tears welled up in Martha's eyes as she reached out, placing her hand over his. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine the pain you must have felt. Ethan nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. After that, I lost my way. I couldn't bear to stay in that town, surrounded by memories of what I'd lost. So, I sold everything and moved here, hoping to find some semblance of peace. Martha squeezed his hand, offering silent support as he continued. I've spent the last few years trying to make sense of my life, to find a purpose. Helping you, Martha, it gave me a sense of meaning again. It made me feel like I could still make a difference, even if just in a small way. Martha's heart swelled with empathy and gratitude. Ethan, you've done more than just help me. You've become a dear friend, and I'm honored to have you in my life. Ethan smiled, a glimmer of hope returning to his eyes. Thank you, Martha. Your friendship means the world to me. In that moment, the bond between them deepened, forged by shared pain and mutual understanding. Martha realized that Ethan's kindness and generosity were born out of his own suffering, and she vowed to be there for him, just as he had been there for her. As the rain continued to fall outside, they sat together in silence, their connection growing stronger with each passing moment. The road ahead was still uncertain, but they knew they would face it together, their hearts intertwined by the unexpected twists of fate. In the weeks that followed Ethan's revelation, a quiet transformation took place within Martha. The depth of Ethan's loss and his strength in overcoming it filled her with a renewed sense of purpose. She was determined to honor his resilience and the kindness he had shown her by finding a way to give back. One morning, as they shared breakfast at the small kitchen table, Martha noticed a local newspaper Ethan had left behind. A headline caught her eye: Community Garden Initiative seeks volunteers. The article described a project to turn an abandoned lot into a community garden, a place where neighbors could come together, grow their own food, and forge connections. Martha's heart quickened. She looked across the table at Ethan, who was engrossed in a book. "Ethan, have you seen this?" she asked, pointing to the article. "What do you think about getting involved in something like this?" Ethan glanced up, his eyes reflecting curiosity. "A community garden? It sounds like a wonderful idea. I've always believed in the power of bringing people together through shared efforts." Martha smiled, her excitement growing. "I think it could be a way for us to do something meaningful together. To create something beautiful and lasting in our community." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "You're right, Martha. It could be just what we need. Let's do it." And so, with a sense of newfound hope, they decided to volunteer for the community garden project. The first day they arrived at the overgrown lot, Martha felt a mix of apprehension and excitement. She and Ethan joined a group of volunteers, all eager to transform the neglected space into a vibrant garden. As they worked side by side, clearing weeds and preparing the soil, Martha felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. The physical labor was challenging but invigorating, and the camaraderie among the volunteers created a warm, supportive atmosphere. Ethan, too, seemed revitalized. Martha noticed how he smiled more often, how his eyes sparkled with a quiet joy as he shared stories and laughter with their fellow volunteers. It was as if the act of nurturing the garden was also nurturing their souls, helping to heal the wounds of their past. One sunny afternoon, as they planted the first seeds together, Martha looked at Ethan, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan, for everything. For believing in me, for sharing your story, and for helping me find a new sense of purpose." Ethan paused, meeting her gaze with a tender smile. "And thank you, Martha, for giving me a reason to hope again. This garden is just the beginning. I feel like we're planting seeds for a future filled with possibility. As the days turned into weeks and the garden began to flourish, Martha and Ethan found themselves not only creating a beautiful space, but also rebuilding their lives. The garden became a symbol of their resilience and the power of human connection, a testament to the unexpected beauty that could emerge from shared struggles and acts of kindness. And in the midst of their blooming garden, they discovered that even the most broken hearts could find solace and strength in the simple act of planting seeds and watching them grow. As the community garden flourished, so did the bonds between Martha and Ethan. Their shared project became a sanctuary, a place where they could escape from their respective pasts and immerse themselves in the present moment. Every day, the garden transformed a little more, with new plants taking root and colorful flowers beginning to bloom. One crisp autumn morning, Martha arrived at the garden to find Ethan already there, watering the beds of vibrant marigolds and lush green beans. She noticed his serene expression, a stark contrast to the sorrow she had first seen in his eyes. "Ethan," she called softly, walking up to him. "The garden looks more beautiful every day." Ethan turned to her, a gentle smile playing on his lips. "It does, doesn't it? It's amazing what we can create when we come together." Martha nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I never imagined I could feel so connected to a place and its people. This garden has given me a sense of community I've longed for." As they worked together, tending to the plants and chatting with other volunteers, Martha felt an unspoken understanding deepen between her and Ethan. They shared more than just the garden. They shared their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. It was as if the garden had become a mirror of their own personal growth and healing. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the garden, Ethan and Martha sat on a weathered bench beneath a sprawling oak tree. The air was filled with the scent of blooming roses and the distant hum of cicadas. "Ethan," Martha began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I've been thinking a lot about the stories we've shared, about the people we've lost and the kindness we've found in each other. This garden has been a gift, but I feel like there's something more we can do." Ethan looked at her, his eyes filled with curiosity. "What do you have in mind?" Martha took a deep breath, her heart pounding with anticipation. "I think we should create a space within the garden dedicated to remembrance. A place where people can come to honor those they've lost and celebrate the memories that have shaped their lives. It could be a way to give back, to offer solace to others who are struggling." Ethan's face lit up with a mix of surprise and admiration. "Martha, that's a beautiful idea. A garden of remembrance. It would be a place of healing for so many. Let's do it." In the days that followed, they shared their vision with the other volunteers, who embraced the idea with enthusiasm. Together, they designed a serene corner of the garden, complete with a winding path, delicate wind chimes, and a mosaic wall where people could leave notes and tokens of remembrance. As they worked on this new project, Martha and Ethan felt their connection grow even stronger. They discovered that through their shared passion for the garden and their commitment to helping others, they were also healing the deepest parts of themselves. One afternoon, as they placed the final stones along the path, Martha turned to Ethan, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan, for believing in this dream with me. This garden of remembrance is a testament to the love and resilience that binds us all." Ethan reached out, taking her hand in his. "And thank you, Martha, for inspiring this vision. Together, we've created something truly beautiful, a place where memories can blossom and hope can flourish." In the quiet moments of the garden, Surrounded by the vibrant colors and soothing sounds, Martha and Ethan found a profound sense of peace. They had turned their pain into purpose, their grief into growth, and in doing so, they had discovered the true power of human connection and the unexpected beauty that could arise from life's most challenging moments. As the Garden of Remembrance took shape, Martha and Ethan grew closer, their bond deepening with every shared memory and every planted flower. Yet, there was still a lingering sense of mystery surrounding Ethan, a veil of sorrow that Martha had yet to fully understand. One late afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows across the garden, Martha found Ethan sitting alone on the bench beneath the oak tree. His expression was pensive, eyes distant as if lost in a world of his own. She approached quietly, sitting beside him without a word, offering her silent companionship. After a few moments of shared silence, Ethan spoke, his voice heavy with emotion. "Martha, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've been carrying with me for a long time." Martha turned to him, her heart aching at the vulnerability in his voice. "Ethan, whatever it is, you can share it with me. I'm here for you." Ethan took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers with a mixture of gratitude and pain. "Before I came here, I lived a different life. I was a successful businessman, driven and ambitious. But in my pursuit of success, I lost sight of what truly mattered. I neglected my family, my friends. I even pushed away the woman I loved." Martha listened intently, sensing the depth of his regret. She reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "There was a tragic accident," Ethan continued, his voice trembling. "My wife, Sarah, and our daughter, Lily, were killed in a car crash. I was supposed to be with them that day, but I chose work over them. I was consumed by guilt, unable to forgive myself. That's why I left everything behind and came here. To escape my past, to find some semblance of peace." Tears welled in Martha's eyes as she absorbed the weight of his confession. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine the pain you've been through. But I can see how much you've changed, how deeply you care for this garden and the people here. You're not running away anymore. You're creating something beautiful from your pain." Ethan looked at her, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "This garden has given me a new purpose, Martha. And meeting you, it's brought a light into my life that I thought I'd lost forever." Martha squeezed his arm gently, her voice filled with compassion. "We all carry our burdens, Ethan. But we don't have to carry them alone. Together, we can find a way to heal." In that moment, under the sheltering branches of the oak tree, a profound understanding blossomed between them. They had both suffered, both lost loved ones, but in their shared grief, they found solace and strength. The days that followed were filled with renewed purpose. Martha and Ethan poured their hearts into the Garden of Remembrance, each flower and stone a tribute to those they had lost. They invited the community to join them, and soon the garden became a sanctuary for many, a place where stories were shared and hearts were mended. Through it all, Martha and Ethan stood side by side, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They realized that the true power of the garden lay not just in its beauty, but in its ability to bring people together, to create connections that could heal even the deepest wounds. As they watched the sun set over the garden one evening, Ethan turned to Martha, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Martha, for helping me find my way back to the light. This garden, these people, they've given me a second chance at life." Martha smiled, her heart full. "And thank you, Ethan, for sharing your story with me. Together, we've created something truly magical, a place where love and resilience can flourish. In the quiet twilight, surrounded by the blossoming garden, they knew they had found something rare and precious, a sanctuary of hope, a testament to the enduring power of human connection, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility of a new beginning. One morning, as the first light of dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, Martha received a letter. It was from Ethan, written in a careful, deliberate hand. The envelope was simple, yet the weight of it in her hands told her it carried something significant. With trembling fingers, she opened the envelope and unfolded the letter. Ethan's familiar handwriting greeted her, each word imbued with the depth of his feelings. Dear Martha, I've been thinking about everything we've shared, about the garden and the memories we've created. Your kindness and understanding have brought light into my life, and I want to tell you something I've never told anyone. You see, the accident that took Sarah and Lily wasn't just a moment of negligence on my part. It was a wake-up call, a painful reminder of the things I'd taken for granted. In the aftermath, I realized how much I'd lost, not just them, but pieces of myself. Coming here, meeting you, and working on the garden has been a journey of healing. But there's more to it. Sarah and Lily used to love gardening. They would spend hours planting flowers and talking about dreams and hopes. This garden is my way of keeping their memory alive, of finding peace in their absence. When I look at you, Martha, I see the same kindness and strength that Sarah had. You've helped me see that it's okay to live again, to find joy in the little things. And for that, I am eternally grateful. Thank you for being my friend, my confidant, and for helping me heal. I wanted you to know how much you mean to me. With gratitude, Ethan. Martha's eyes filled with tears as she read the letter. She could feel Ethan's pain, his regret, but also his gratitude and the bond that had formed between them. She understood now why the garden meant so much to him, why every flower and every stone held a piece of his heart. Clutching the letter to her chest, Martha felt a surge of warmth and connection. She knew that their friendship had given Ethan a new lease on life, just as it had for her. There were two souls bound by shared grief, finding solace in each other's presence. Later that day, Martha found Ethan in the garden, tending to a bed of roses. She approached him, her heart full of unspoken words. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. Thank you for the letter, Ethan, Martha said softly. It means more to me than you can imagine. Ethan smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that spoke of healing and newfound strength. I'm glad you read it. I wanted you to know how much you've helped me. Martha reached out and took his hand, a silent promise passing between them. They stood together in the garden, surrounded by the beauty they had cultivated, and for the first time in a long while, they both felt a sense of peace. The days that followed were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. Ethan and Martha continued to nurture the garden, each flower a testament to their journey. They invited the community to join them, creating a space where stories were shared and hearts were healed. In the quiet moments, they would sit together under the oak tree, talking about their pasts, their hopes for the future, and the love they had found in friendship. They realized that their bond was more than just shared grief. It was a connection that had brought them back to life, giving them both a reason to hope and to dream. As the sun set over the garden one evening, casting a golden glow over the flowers, Martha and Ethan knew they had found something rare and precious. Their journey was far from over, but together, they could face whatever came next, with hearts full of hope and hands entwined in friendship. As the seasons changed, so did the garden, mirroring the transformation in Ethan and Martha's lives. The flowers bloomed with vibrant colors, and the trees whispered tales of resilience and renewal. Each day spent in the garden was a step further from their pain and closer to healing. One crisp autumn morning, the garden was alive with activity. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers who had heard about the garden's magic came to contribute. It had become a sanctuary, a place where broken hearts mended and weary souls found peace. Martha and Ethan worked side by side, their hands dirty with soil but their spirits cleansed by the beauty they had cultivated. They exchanged smiles and laughter, their bond growing stronger with every shared moment. The garden was no longer just a project, it was a testament to their journey, a living embodiment of their healing. One afternoon, while planting bulbs for the spring, Martha noticed a young girl standing at the garden's entrance. She looked lost, her eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and sadness. Martha walked over, her heart reaching out to the girl. "Hello there," Martha greeted gently. "Would you like to join us?" The girl nodded, her eyes lighting up with a spark of hope. "My name is Lily," she said softly. Martha's heart skipped a beat at the familiar name. She led Lily to a patch of soil and handed her a trowel. "Welcome, Lily. We're planting flowers today. Would you like to help?" As Lily began to dig, Martha watched her, feeling a profound connection. The garden had become a place where people found not just solace, but also unexpected connections and new beginnings. Ethan joined them, his eyes softening as he saw Martha and Lily working together. He knelt beside Lily, showing her how to plant the bulbs. "These will bloom beautifully in the spring," he said, his voice full of warmth. Lily looked up at Ethan, her expression one of gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "I've never had a garden before." Martha and Ethan exchanged a knowing glance, their hearts full. The garden had given them a purpose, a way to transform their pain into something beautiful. It was a place where they could honor their past while embracing the future. As the days grew shorter and the air turned colder, the garden continued to thrive, a beacon of hope in the midst of life's challenges. Martha and Ethan knew that their journey was far from over, but they had found strength in each other and in the garden they had created. One evening, as the sun set and the sky painted itself in hues of orange and pink, Martha and Ethan sat under the oak tree, watching the garden bathed in the golden light. They held hands, their fingers intertwined, finding comfort in the simple act of being together. "Martha," Ethan began, his voice tinged with emotion, "I never thought I'd find peace again, but this garden, you've given me a second chance at life." Martha squeezed his hand, her eyes reflecting the same depth of feeling. "And you've given me hope, Ethan. Together, we've created something beautiful out of our pain." In that moment, they knew that their bond was unbreakable, forged in the fires of grief but strengthened by their shared journey. The garden was more than just a place, it was a symbol of their resilience, their capacity to love and to heal. As the stars began to twinkle above, Martha and Ethan sat in peaceful silence, their hearts full of gratitude for the unexpected journey that had brought them together. They had found healing in the most unlikely of places, and they knew that as long as they had each other, they could face whatever came next, hand in hand, heart to heart. One evening, as the chill of winter began to creep into the garden, Martha found herself alone among the plants. The silence was comforting, yet her thoughts drifted to the many unanswered questions about Ethan. She felt a mix of gratitude and curiosity, wondering about the stranger who had transformed her life so profoundly. Ethan joined her a few moments later, carrying a small, old wooden box. His eyes held a mixture of anticipation and resolve. Martha looked up, sensing that something important was about to unfold. "Martha, there's something I need to share with you," Ethan began, his voice steady but laced with emotion. He handed her the box, his hands trembling slightly. Martha opened the box slowly, revealing a collection of letters and photographs. She picked up a letter on top, its edges worn and yellowed with time. She recognized the handwriting. It was her own, from years ago. "These letters, they're from me," Martha said, her voice barely a whisper. She looked at Ethan, confusion and realization dawning on her simultaneously. Ethan nodded, his eyes soft with understanding. "Yes, Martha. These are the letters you wrote to my mother. She was your friend, the one you mentioned losing contact with many years ago. She cherished these letters, and when she passed away, she left them to me." Tears welled up in Martha's eyes as she sifted through the memories encapsulated in the letters. She found photographs of herself and her friend, smiling and carefree, from a time long forgotten. "I had no idea," Martha murmured, her voice breaking. "I never knew what happened to her." Ethan took her hand, his touch grounding her in the moment. "My mother always spoke of you with such fondness. When she fell ill, she made me promise to find you, to let you know how much you meant to her. She wanted you to have these letters, to remember the bond you shared." Martha's tears flowed freely now, a mix of sorrow and gratitude. "I wish I had known. I would have been there for her." "She understood," Ethan said softly. "She knew life sometimes takes us in different directions. She wanted you to know that your friendship meant the world to her, even after all those years." Martha looked at Ethan, seeing him in a new light. He wasn't just a kind stranger who had helped her in her time of need. He was a bridge to her past, to a dear friend she had lost but never forgotten. "Thank you, Ethan," Martha whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for bringing her back to me, for helping me find peace." Ethan smiled, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And thank you, Martha, for allowing me to fulfill my mother's last wish. In doing so, you've helped me find my own path to healing." As they sat together in the garden, surrounded by the silent witness of nature, Martha and Ethan felt a profound sense of closure. The garden had brought them together, but it was the truth and the unveiling of the past that cemented their bond. In that moment, they knew that the garden was more than a place of healing. It was a sanctuary of truth, love, and unspoken connections. It was a testament to the enduring power of friendship and the unexpected ways life brings people together. They sat in the stillness, absorbing the revelations of the evening, knowing that their lives had been irrevocably changed. The garden, now more than ever, felt like a sacred space where the past and present intertwined, creating a tapestry of memories, healing, and hope. As spring unfurled its vibrant colors, the garden reflected the transformation that had taken place in Martha's life. The once withered plants now thrived, mirroring the rejuvenation she felt within herself. The bond she had formed with Ethan had blossomed into something akin to a family, unexpected, yet profoundly comforting. Martha and Ethan spent their days tending to the garden, their shared labor a testament to the healing power of nature and human connection. The garden had become a sanctuary, a place where they could both find solace and strength. One sunny afternoon, as they planted new flowers together, Ethan paused to look at Martha. "This garden has become something extraordinary," he said, his voice filled with admiration. It's more than just a collection of plants. It's a symbol of resilience and renewal. Martha smiled, her eyes twinkling with the wisdom of her years. It's amazing what can grow when you nurture it with care and love, she replied, her voice gentle but strong. Just like our friendship. They continued their work in companionable silence, the rhythmic sounds of their tools and the chirping of birds creating a symphony of life around them. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers, each one a reminder of the beauty that could arise from hardship. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Ethan turned to Martha with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking," he began, his tone tentative but hopeful. "What if we opened this garden to the community? A place where others can come to find peace and healing, just as we have?" Martha's heart swelled with pride and joy at the idea. "That's a wonderful thought, Ethan," she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "This garden has given us so much. It's only right that we share its magic with others." With that, they began to plan, their excitement growing with each passing day. They envisioned a sanctuary where people from all walks of life could come to experience the tranquility and renewal that the garden offered. Workshops, meditation sessions, and community gatherings, each idea seemed to breathe new life into their vision. The day of the garden's grand opening arrived, and the air was filled with a sense of anticipation and joy. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers gathered to witness the unveiling of this sanctuary of hope. As they walked through the garden, admiring the flowers and feeling the serenity of the space, they couldn't help but be moved by the story behind it. Martha stood at the center of the garden, surrounded by the people who had come to share in this special moment. She looked around, her heart full of gratitude and love. "This garden is a testament to the power of kindness and the strength of human connection," she said, her voice carrying the weight of her journey. "It's a place where we can all find solace and renewal, no matter what challenges we face." Ethan stood beside her, his heart swelling with pride. "Thank you all for being here," he added, his voice strong and steady. "This garden is a dream realized, a place where we can come together to heal and grow. Let it be a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always hope." As the evening drew to a close, the garden was alive with the laughter and joy of those who had come to celebrate its opening. Martha and Ethan stood together, watching the scene with contentment. They had created something beautiful and lasting, a sanctuary that would continue to touch lives for years to come. In that moment, they knew that their journey had come full circle. The garden, once a place of personal healing, had blossomed into a beacon of hope for the entire community. And as they stood there, surrounded by the beauty they had nurtured, they felt a profound sense of fulfillment and peace. Their story was one of resilience, love, and the unexpected connections that life could bring. It was a testament to the power of kindness and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as they looked to the future, they knew that the garden would continue to be a place of new beginnings, for themselves and for all who found their way to its welcoming embrace.